Hello everyone and welcome to the final day of Freestyle Chess Grandslam Final being held in Cape Town, South Africa. Final match, Levon Aronian versus Magnus Carlsen. Magnus, who is a huge favorite in this matchup, is playing, an old veteran who is just, showing that he still belongs in the elite. And Levon won the Vegas events back, I think it was either August or September, and now maybe it was even earlier, and now he's again in the finals. In that Vegas event, Levon beat Magnus in the semifinals, and now Magnus is of course looking for his revenge, but let's see what happens. So we see the first game, d4, king on e1, very good, bishop on f1, bishop on c1. Excellent, rook on a1, rook on h1. Oh my goodness, guess what? The only pieces that are switched are knight and queen. Let me highlight them in yellow. And yes, I mean, this can change things a lot. f5 is played, Dutch defense, and we have f3 on the second move. And now Magnus decided to gambit a pawn by playing e5. And many experts, okay, I'll first explain and show you how the game went, how the match went, and then tell you what experts said about that move. So e5, basically gambiting the pawn, d takes e5, knight c6, attacking the pawn on e5, and knight c3. So this knight goes on c3, not this one. And now after, let's say, knight e5, if that was to be the case, there is queen e3, and the idea is to play f4. And if, let's say, queen goes to e6, I believe there is knight b5, and this pawn is just extremely weak, and it's tough to protect it, because queen has no good square to protect this c7 pawn, and unfortunately, I mean, this knight is potentially lost after f4. So, instead, we got knight e6, e4, attacking the pawn, f takes e4, knight e4, and now pawn goes to b6. The idea should be to play knight c5 at some point, but after knight c3, Levon said after the match interview that knight c5 was probably best, just to get rid of this knight, or maybe not even here. After bishop b7, f4, here knight c5 I think was best, just to make sure to get rid of this knight. And, the position is equal despite black being down a pawn. But instead of that, we had long castle on the board, bishop goes to e3, and after d5, there is e takes d6, bishop d6, and queen f2, protecting the pawn. Queen f7, bishop goes to c4, pinning the knight, and now you can kind of already see that Magnus has some problems. Queen f5 finally goes long castle, king b8, rook d5, queen f8, and now rook d6. I'm not sure why it's not, let's say, brilliant sacrifice, but okay. It's basically a trade, because let's after c takes d6, there is bishop e6, and white wins the game, so rook d6 is of course best, takes queen d6, and now rook d1. Queen e7, rook e1, the idea is of course to push f5, develop the bishop, and then just take at some point on c7, knight a5, bishop goes back, queen d7, f5, knight d8, bishop f4, and you can already see that Magnus is in a lot of trouble. Knight goes to c6, pawn goes to g4, h6, a3, knight b3 check, trying to basically make Levon take and then take on d3, and suddenly black are back to the game, but instead, very, very important, king b1. C takes b3 actually is still winning, because c takes b3, queen d3, rook d1, and then rook d7, and, it's a lower. Knight c5, bishop goes to c4, and after rook d8, b4. And king d4, I don't know why Levon decided not to take on c7, because bishop c7 and you can resign immediately with black pieces. He took on d4, which is of course completely winning, but after bishop c7, the idea is that after king c7 there is knight b5, and white win a queen, and if king c8, I mean, you can take on d4, I mean, it's still completely winning, you could play queen g3, but yeah, I kind of agree with Levon, like, you want to simplify, because you still get a completely winning position, while here, I mean, it's winning, but, you might get scared of different knight b4 ideas. I mean, they don't really work, but you want to win convincingly, so queen d4 was played instead, rook d4, two-piece surrender attack, but guess what? Rook e8, once again, bishop c7 was possible, but Levon decides to, make it firm. Rook e8, bishop c8, bishop c7. Now he takes, king c7, knight b5, king d7, knight d4, and with the idea being that king e8, knight c6, and after king e8, knight c6, knight d4, king b2, a6, bishop e2. There's just too many extra pawns for white pieces. Levon ended up converting pretty smoothly. And now let's get to the second game between them. So Magnus, unfortunately, was the first game and is now in a must-win situation and plays with white pieces. And we get to the following endgame where we have material equality, but again, I mean, Magnus have won so many positions like that in classical chess and normal chess, and of course he can do the same in freestyle. I mean, this position looked pretty, I mean, not standard, but of course something that could occur in classical chess game. King f6, knight goes to e5, rook c7. I'll quickly scroll through it because Magnus got some chances eventually, not huge, but I mean, there were interesting things to watch. Knight c5, knight a4, king b3, knight c5. Of course, Magnus doesn't agree to repeat by threefold. Knight d6, knight d2, and now he suddenly got a pass pawn. I mean, it wasn't that easy for Levon. I mean, objectively, yes, it is a draw, but from human's perspective, I mean, it's a little bit complicated. You got weakness here, you got potential weakness on the king side. So, king b4, rook b3, rook a3, and now finally pawn push, rook f3 takes, and now guess what? h6, a6 becomes a little bit complicated to defend, but still, with precise play, it is a draw. So after x5, after x5, and now king c4, king goes to d5, and suddenly Magnus probably got some feeling of, you know, some advantage. He goes king d5, but after knight d6, it turns out that, you know, knight f4 is just a strong move. If king f5, black can take. So here apparently after rook g6, knight d4 was the best option, even though it's hard to figure out why this and not king d5, because king d5 looks even more logical, but after knight d6 there is a threat of knight f4 as well, so rook has to move, rook g3, knight c7, king f5, and Magnus took the pawn. King f5, rook f6, king f4, rook f2, rook g7, king d8, rook g8, king f7, rook g7, king d8, and now knight goes to b3. Magnus still tries to pose some problems. He has less time, 30 seconds against 5 minutes. Rook h2, pawn goes to c6, rook h4, king d3, and now some repetitions. Rook d7, king c8, rook d7, knight d8, c7, knight c6, and guess what? There is no way to break through. Magnus plays rook h7. After rook h5, the players agree to a draw because there is a simple plan: rook d5, rook d7, and black simply take the pawn, and that's a draw. But we now know who is the winner of the Cape Town event. It's Levon Aronian, who came first and came second overall in the event. Magnus won the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam in 2026 with overall standing. I think he got like 121 points, and that was enough despite him not winning this event. So, but what expert said after the match is that basically e5 is the move which probably cost Magnus the whole win, because I mean, technically it would, let's say, hypothetically speaking, they would make the draw and then they would play on the tiebreaks, and you never know. Levon could have still won, but I mean, Magnus would have had some chances, of course. So e5, gambit in the pawn, not the best decision. He was basically totally lost by move 11. That's not something that you can see in classical OTB chess, but that's just this chess is just built different, and just like that, Levon Aronian is the champ. There was another interesting game. Vincent Keimer for the third place against Yavahir Sindarov, and that's I want to show you this beautiful endgame example. So here knight f3 is still holding for white. I mean, it's like 0.6, 0.7 advantage for black, but instead b3 was played, and guess what happened? So b3, you kind of see this examples of breakthrough. Let's say here b3 takes, c3 takes, and then a3. And let's say after knight f3, this b3 doesn't really work as takes. Yeah, this takes is actually very simple. But let's say, I mean, just hypothetically, you don't have bishop, you don't have knight. b3 is the threat. This b3, c3, unless king is here, not in the square. So that would have been a huge threat, but instead we have bishop, we have knight, knight f3 still holding, but we had b3. And now there is a break, for example, with d4. And now the threat of d3 is just very, very strong. So, it just lost. d3 is coming and there is nothing that white can do to stop it. King e2, pawn goes to d3, and now takes, and a3, and guess what happens? After knight e3, that wasn't played in the game, but knight e1 was played in the game, a2 wasn't played in the game, bishop d4, knight c2, bishop c3. The plan of a2, a1 is just too strong, and yes, I mean, Vincent just delivered a win with insane technique. a1 takes, bishop c3 goes back, g5, bishop d2, d5, bishop c1, and there is no breakthrough for white because h5 you just simply take, she takes f6, obviously bishop b2, bishop f6, you take all the pawns. If g6, once again, you simply take. If f5 is played, you can even play g5 and then g4. This pawn will fall, this pawn will fall, all these pawns are going to fall eventually. And just like that, Vincent Keimer came third. So, I mean, it is a great event, yes. I mean, for many, let's say, amateur players, even for myself, I mean, this chess 960 stuff is tough to understand. And you know, like looking at all these positions, like you have different positions every single game, and it's just tough. But yeah, you don't have to prep a lot. You kind of come with fresh hat and just get your thoughts together and play chess game, the same chess game that you play with normal positions. But yeah, just a little bit different, as many players say, even the elite, that you can get lost position on move 1, you can get lost position on move 2, and that's just the beauty of it. But yeah, it's very fun to see from time to time, but of course the classical chess is something we watch out for. And in the next few days I'll be publishing my 2 last rounds recaps from US Chess Masters 2025, and then you will see Global Chess League recaps, the event which starts in India this upcoming Sunday. That's going to be very interesting to see. I think it's rapid time control. There are a lot of great players. I think it's time control without increment. So, you know, we'll see a lot of flagging. We'll see a lot of drama. So that's going to be exciting. But I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.